Hey guys, Miss McCaslin here. Today I'll be reading to you The Ugly Duckling. Now this summer I've been practicing on my Spanish. So today I'm going to do my best to just use a few little words and phrases just for practice so that I can try to learn like you guys are learning. And maybe when we get back you can help me because I need to learn more. Here we go. The Ugly Duckling. One bright sunny morning in the corner of an old farmyard, a mother duck watched proudly as her ducklings hatched from their eggs. The 5 new ducklings were tiny and covered with soft yellow feathers. How many ducklings were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cinco. Patitos pequeños. 5 little ducks. But the mother duck was puzzled because one of the eggs did not hatch. This egg was much larger than the others. Mucho más grande que otros. An old duck came waddling down the path and stopped to admire the ducklings. "What's wrong with that egg?" said the old duck. "I don't know," said the mother, "but for some reason it won't hatch." The old duck looked carefully at the egg. "Well, that's a turkey egg. Leave it alone and go teach your babies to swim." "Oh, no," said the mother. "I've taken care of this egg for so long. I'll stay with it till it actually hatches." So the mother duck continued to sit on the egg until the large egg began to wobble and crack. And finally, out came the most unusual looking bird. He was covered with rough gray feathers, and he was much bigger than the other ducklings. Inusual, mucho más grande que los demás. This duck was much bigger than the other ducklings. His feet were large and clumsy, and his neck was long and skinny. So when the other birds in the farmyard saw him, they began to squawk. "Quack, quack! What an ugly duckling!" said the geese. "A very strange duckling indeed," said the hens. And even the turkeys laughed at the baby. The poor duckling really did feel ugly. He made his way to a nearby lake to hide in the grass, and he stayed there all summer long. Poor little duck. Should we be making fun of people or ducks or anyone? No, we don't want to be unkind or bully anyone. So one night, when the moon was shining, la luna was shining brightly on the lake, the lonely ducklings just sat there, and he saw these winged creatures flying through the sky. They were magnificent. They were magnificent swans who cast these great shadows as they flew across the night. The duckling stood there and admired them. Oh, he longed to fly like these beautiful swans. And then winter came. So the duck went out to the lake, and he began to grow cold. And he was having trouble finding something to eat. Frío y sin comida. No food, and he was cold. And then all of a sudden, he fell. He fell flat onto the icy lake. So finally, a farmer wrapped him up. A farmer found him out laying on the frozen lake, and he wrapped him up in his coat. And he carried him back to a nice warm barn. You know, I live on a farm, and we have a barn. The barn is where we keep the tractor and some tools to work on the farm, or where the animals can go if they need shelter. The duckling stayed in the barn, and the farmer took care of him for the rest of the long, harsh winter. And spring finally arrived. The farmer led the duckling out of the barn. The duckling had grown, and he was feeling stronger than ever before. And so he began to flap his wings. And then, to his surprise, he flew off the ground and into the bright sky. He landed near some reeds at the edge of a peaceful pond. And there, he could hear some children, niños, playing nearby on the bank. Now, the bank is the land right at the edge of the water. So you see the children out there? So he could hear the children. And then he saw those lovely swans that had been flying in the sky earlier. This time, they were drifting on the water, just swimming on the water. Afraid that they might laugh at him again, the ugly duckling lowered his head in shame. As he looked down at his reflection, he saw in the still water there was another swan looking back at him, just as beautiful and magnificent as the swans that he just saw. After a moment, he realized he was staring at his own reflection. He was amazed at how beautiful he had become. He was not an ugly duckling. In fact, he had never been a duckling at all. But he was a swan in the making. He glided into the water and he joined the other swans. When the children saw him, they began to shout, "Look, mira! Look at the new swan. He's the most splendid one of them all." So he was no longer an ugly duckling, but a graceful and beautiful swan. And with this proud thought, his heart almost burst with happiness and joy. So although he may have seemed different at first, he grew into this most beautiful swan. And he could swim and he could fly. And you know, there are days that some of us feel different or that we can't do this or that. But you know what? We all have skills. We all are valuable. We can all do things, just like this duck who turned out to be the most magnificent of them all. So keep learning, keep reading, and we'll see you this fall. Bye.